Wonderful. I'm so glad that you're here with us, Naomi. I am going to mute you for now, just because it'll put the sound in and out otherwise. And as I previously mentioned, this is a fundraiser to help send money to India, and 100% of the proceeds I will be donating. Uh, from the you are welcome to make your own donations, but it's my commitment that from the money my patrons give me, I'm actually sending that to India. But of course, please, India's in a lot of trouble. I actually spoke to a friend of mine who lives just outside of Delhi. And the numbers, I think they're still saying it's 300,000 odd officially have died. He's like, more than 1 million people have died. He said so many are not getting counted, especially in the villages. So, not that we want to get all depressed about that in this moment. We want to take the energy and send it up, send our prayers up for India. But normally, I'd invite us to set our own personal intention. But I'd like us to. Why don't we bring our hands? Let's bring our hands to Anjali Mudra. A little refresher from the class the other day, the Mudra class with Nibia. And Anjali Mudra, you have the thumbs together and you bring the masculine and the feminine parts of self together as one here at the heart. And gently closing your eyes and just setting our intention, our sankalpa. Tonight's practice is for the benefit of all of those who are in India and for the COVID relief there, and without putting our own human limitations on it, just inviting anything we know to ask for and anything we don't know to ask for all this energy from our practice tonight to be dedicated to the people suffering in India right now. And let's open hands and offer it up, and we can say Jai Ma. Yes, which means victory to the mother. Victory to the mother. Great, so we'll begin this evening with an invocation. And one of the practices in Bhakti Yoga and this chanting, we're going to mix a little bit of Tantric mantras and Bhakti mantras, Bhakti Yoga mantras. But one of the practices of Bhakti Yoga is Shravanam, this listening. So as I chant the invocation, it's to the goddess Durga. She's many things, but one of her aspects is that she takes us from fear to empowerment. And I know there are a lot of people scared in India right now. Everybody that I know, either they are sick or their families are sick or have almost everybody knows people that have passed. So there's a lot of fear about what will happen. And so I think invoking Durga Ma is a really lovely way to begin. I'm just going to wait for you to come and sit, because for Shravanam you just sit really present. Just receive the invocation, and then after that you're welcome to move around. Oh, and I will mention, this is a bit of a risk, so you can let me know at the end. I don't have my headphones on because we want to capture the harmonium, but you may hear some Mexican music in the background. It's kind of, it's similar to India in that the cows in my town walk around everywhere. Not as many as India, but still. And it's very noisy. Like music plays sometimes till 5 or 6 a.m. on the weekends. So that's kind of a normal part, but that's going to infuse our practice tonight. So you can just receive this invocation to the goddess Durga. Sarvamangala Mangalye Shive Sarvata Sadike Sharanye Trayambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute. Join me for 3 ohms. Already starting to feel better. Great. So, as with all things, we begin by invoking Ganesha. Let's practice that, seeing as it's a smaller class tonight. So, Ganesha, I want you to think Ganesha is the. There's my little Ganesha. My big one's back in Oakland still, but my Ganesha, this is the elephant headed god, son of Shiva. And he does that Ubaya mudra that we spoke about, this mudra for protection. And he is said to have written the Vedas. He was the one that actually transcribed them. And he lays the foundation, creates a blessing, and removes any obstacles in our path. So he's kind of the fail-safe when we go into practicing. And the word Ganesha, the gun, the tongue comes back, it curls back like this. Gun. Gun. Good. Gun. Like, I don't want to say think about a gun, but gun is how I remembered it. It's gun. Short vowel sound and with the tongue like Ganesha's tongue curling back, retroflex. Okay, so we're going to chant the Bija mantra for Ganesha. And the mantra is Om Gang Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gang Ganapataye Namaha. You'll notice that I'm using the Anuswara pronunciation. And we've gone over this, but quite quickly previously. So, should I slow it down a bit tonight? No. Okay, you got it. Great. I can tailor it for you. You see, it's like having a one-on-one, which is great. So we'll dive right in. I know you've chanted this mantra before with Om Gang Ganapataye Namaha. Remembering to breathe deeply as we chant to sustain your practice, filling the lungs and the body with prana. Om Gang Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gang Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gang Ganapataye Namaha. namaha. Om Ganganapataya 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 namaha. Ganganapataya namaha. Om 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 Ganganapataya namaha. Ganapataya namaha. Om Ganganapataya 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 namaha. Feeling the rootedness connection to the earth from Ganesha, ruler of the Muladhara, the root chakra. Beautiful. How's it sounding out there? Good. Great. Well, let's go. I'm just watching where the time is going. Let's chant. Yeah, I'm going to change my mind. So let's chant to Maharaji. Yes, this is like my favorite. So we will chant his Bija mantra. And, and my cat, the neighborhood cat has kind of adopted me because I don't have anyone around really in this house. And anyway, so the cats tend to really like good energy. And so the cat might come and hang out with us. Hopefully won't get in the way of me playing. You like to come when I'm trying to do work on the computer and sit right on my computer, which is always interesting. Anyway, so I know we've done this mantra before. It'll be the seed mantra for Neem Karoli Baba. So the words are Om Namo Gurudev Neem Karoli Babaya Swaha. I do Swaha, Krishna Das does Namaha, but I've heard the first time I heard it, as you know, he was saying Swaha, and I like the Swaha because it's like I offer. Now I did that really quickly, Naomi. Is that too quick for you, or okay? I know you've done this a few times with me, so great. So shall we dive right in there? Okay. So we'll hold Maharaji close to our hearts, and if you like, as you chanting, you can visualize him. But the most important thing is to keep your attention with every mantra we do tonight. Keep your attention. It doesn't always have to be the third eye, but that's where I think of holding the mantra. And every time your mind wanders, because the mind is chanchal, the mind is the monkey mind, it likes to jump around. Whenever you notice it's gotten distracted, you just gently bring it back around again. Okay. And I want to explain why this evening for India, I wanted to invoke Maharaji and why I'm doing it so early, because normally I actually invoke him later on in the kirtan. But you may know this, but anyway, it's a little known fact that Dr. Larry Brilliant was one of Maharaji's devotees, right? And he helped eradicate smallpox. So I was thinking, given that we're chanting for the COVID situation in India, we can call on Maharaji's grace to come and help us with this too. Okay, so it's so good. I love it that you're showing up so much these days, because then it's just easier to get into all of the mantras. So. you're sitting, just soaking up the benefits of the mantra, I invite you just to see if you can tap into a particular flavor of Maharaji, the blanket of love enveloping you. Noticing that each time we chant these mantras, they have a different resonance or a different frequency, if I sort of say it in a more Western way. Because all of these deities, all the gurus, they all have their own personality and their own bhava, their own mood and feeling. So just over time, I want to invite that. Okay, so we're going to move on. Woo! I'm noticing I'm getting really high from all the chanting. I have been promising for months that I would do this, and I told you last month that we would dive deeper into that Om Asatoma Mantra, and we're going to do that tonight. I'm actually going to do a teaching on it. So let me just pull the chat up because I didn't and I couldn't see. Oh yes, I've also been tracking Dr. Brilliant, and I find him very good actually. For me, it's quite a nice benchmark, because then I'm like, oh well, I know I can trust him because I know he's Maharaji's devotee, right? So there's like an extra layer of built-in comfort for me with that. Yeah. Um, while Maharaji didn't give him specific instruction to go and deal, as far as I know, to go and deal with COVID, his work. I know, we don't know. I haven't been privy to a private conversation with Dr. Brilliant, but we know he has the expertise from years in the field now. So, okay. So I'm just going to, what are you saying is so similar? Can I unmute you for a second just so you can, it's just you and I, so.
It's what this pandemic and the other pandemic. I mean, it's similar enough. He knows what he's talking about.
Oh yeah, I mean, he has the real world experience now. Yeah, before he really didn't. Have you heard the stories of how they would? Have you heard him talk about what happened?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'll just tell it quickly in case some of the people that watch the replay don't know the story. But so Neem Kaur Ali Baba, also known as Maharaji, which means like great king. It's an honorific title given to a lot of people. But anyway, or Maharaji said to him, I want you to go and help with the smallpox eradication. And I believe Larry Brilliant was already a doctor, but he was young. I think he was in his 20s, so he didn't have a ton of experience. And so he would show up to the World Health Organization or whatever and be like, okay, well, I'm here to help eradicate smallpox. And they were like, well, who are you? But then when he would go out, in Indian custom, they would often walk people back to their car, to be very polite and honor their guest. And then they saw a picture of Maharaji on the dashboard. And then they were like, oh, you're one of Neem Kaur Ali Baba's devotees. Okay, come, we'll work with you now. Like, they looked at him totally differently. So it is really Maharaji's grace, right? That even, because I think the first time, you can find videos of this, maybe I'll even post it to Facebook, but where he tries and they're like sending him away. They're like, who are you to help us? And he went back to Maharaji, and Maharaji was like, no, off you go. I've told you, I've given you this work to do. Now go and do it. But he's like, but they're not listening to me. And then it happened when they came out to the car. So I just love that story, because we, in our own humanness, like, who are we? Who are we to try and change the world? Like, what are we going to do? But firstly, I believe small changes. First, we start with working on ourselves and changing ourselves. And then if we're lucky, we can change our family and maybe our friends. and then it can go out from there. But he had his guru's blessing and he had Maharaji's grace. So, of course, everything opened up uh, to him. So, anyway, I love that. I love that story, literally an example of Guru's grace. So, let me put this, link. Got it up right before we started. Here we go. Okay. So normally you know that I don't give the words, but this is a much longer mantra. Oh, sorry, that's supposed to say Om, not M Asatoma. So I've given the words just so that it's not too difficult to remember, because in the beginning I know this is longer. Normally I try and pick one-line mantras to keep them simple. But I've been chanting this mantra. It's always been a favorite of mine, but I've been chanting it a lot in the pandemic. And I want to speak to that for a moment, because I was actually on a call with a friend of mine today, and we were talking about, there's been a huge campaign of disinformation. Some people are getting vaccinated, some people are not getting vaccinated. People are falling out about these things. Even in India, like the numbers the government is reporting and the actual numbers are vastly different. So I'm noticing in my own life, there's this real call to the path of truth and the translation of the mantra. And this is not I'm going to give a more layperson's translation, but the translation I like is, take us from the untruth to the truth, from the darkness to the light, and from the poison to nectar. So, that feels so appropriate to me. The world is being poisoned by lies from the politicians, by, conspiracy theorists, by all sorts of things. And I really would love the truth, just like a sword, to come and cut through all the, I'll be polite tonight and say the BS. So we're going to go word by word. And just so you know, Naomi, the first word is Om, even though the O didn't come out. Just in case you're like, what happened? So we'll go more or less line by line. So the words are Om Asatoma satgamaya. So shall I break that into two, or? Okay. So let's try it together. Om Asatoma satgamaya. Then it goes Tamasoma iyotir gamaya. So Tamasoma iyotir gamaya. And iyotir is the spiritual light. So when I was in India on my first trip with Gina Salah, we would go and chant Gayatri Mantra at sunrise in Rishikesh before the sun came over the mountain. And we were also chanting to the iyotir, to the spiritual light, as well as the physical light that came in the form of the sunrise, sorry. We would chant it at sunset too, but we normally did it at sunrise. So then, line 3. Mrityorma. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Good. And then the last line's easy. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. It's Om, peace, peace, peace. And often they say, I've heard it taught that, like, the first piece is for yourself, the second piece is for those around you, and then the third piece is to radiate peace out to the rest of the world. That's what I've heard. So any questions or any words you want help with. I'm trying to unmute you again.
Is there something after the third shanti? Shanti?
Yeah, it's just so at the end, if you look at the line, it's just like the end of the phrase. So the double line is
Oh,
the end of this. Yeah. Does that make sense? So you don't have to worry about that. But good question. Any other pronunciation? Would you mind? Can I hear your pronunciation? I couldn't
yeah.
sing. Can
I
you do line by line again so that we?
no, I had done it. I had sung it with a singing group before, and it was just a little different. So I have most of it. But
Okay. Well, we're not going
Om
for
Asatoma satgamaya Tamasoma Juriti. We used to say Juriti gamaya Mrityorma amritam gamaya.
beautiful. You're actually doing really well. So, first line was great. Om Asatoma satgamaya.
Om
Tamasoma.
Asatoma
Yeah.
satgamaya.
Tamasoma. And then
Joy,
iyotir.
iyotir. Oh, we used to say
Iyotir.
joytir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iyotir
Jyotir
gamaya.
gamaya. Jyotir. Oh, like it's spelled.
You could what?
Jyot, like it's spelled.
Oh, exactly. So I don't
Jyotir
know which
gamaya.
pronunciation. Sanskrit is frequently mispronounced, you see. And like it sounds a little bit like the Deva Premal version of the translation you're saying, but her pronunciation, I love Deva, I've studied with her, but her pronunciation isn't always perfect. And we're trying to get as close to, I may make mistakes, forgive me, whoever ends up watching this video, there's a chance I will make mistakes, but mine may not be 100% perfect, but it's closer. And because of the energetics of the Sanskrit language, I mean, that's one reason we want to get the most Shakti out of the practice. So if we want to open the nadis, Sanskrit helps us do that. And then also, obviously, it honors the source tradition if we're actually pronouncing it correctly instead of butchering it as many Westerners do.
Can I share with you the melody that we used to sing? It was with either Rhonda Rice and or Mother Song.
Okay, sure.
Just Om Asatoma satgamaya Tamasoma iyotir gamaya Mrityorma amritam gamaya. I never got the last line right, but that was the melody.
You did actually get it right. You got it perfectly right. So that is the Deva Premal. I could hear it because of I know the tune, but also I know where she makes a mistake. Sorry, I'm saying this, but with the pronunciation, and there's nothing wrong with the version. It's just we like to be honoring to Indian tradition, and then, but it's lovely.
That's nice. It's nice to know where that came from. And I have good memories singing it with the singing group that I did.
Yes, and just sometimes, like the invocation that I chanted at the beginning, I learned initially from a recording that Deva had made. And she had a word on the wrong line, and it didn't make sense the way I was singing it. Even though I was pronouncing it correctly, I had the phrasing wrong. And it was actually Nubia who corrected me. She's like, Caroline, if you're going to sing that with other people, you've got to sing it right. Otherwise, the Gauri is, I believe, I don't want to get this wrong, but I believe it means golden. Or Gauri means golden, and I put it on the wrong line. So it was like describing the goddess and her golden qualities, but then it was in the wrong part of the next sentence. So it didn't make sense. A Hindu listening to me would have been like, what? So this is why we refine. And the way I like to think of it is, when we know better, then we just do better.
Tamasoma, iyotir,
So
gamaya.
yeah, we're going to sing it Vedic style, just because that's the melody I know. And what I notice is often the melodies can help you just to anchor in where the pronunciation is. So let's dive in and then see how we go. And, because you have, thank you so much, joined the Hanuman's heart tier of my patrons, you can rewatch this again and again and again to keep locking in that. I'm so grateful for that. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Any other questions before we jump in?
I kind of want to copy the meaning down too.
You can copy
I
anything.
will. Don't hold it up, but I will.
I'll put it with the recording as well on Patreon to make it so easy for you. I'll put the translation I like. I was just rushing.
Oh, okay.
Last
Thank you.
So I'll put the one I gave verbally in there. Okay. I'm going to have a sip of water before I start. There we go. Okay. Om Asatoma satgamaya, Tamasoma gamaya, Mrityorma amritam gamaya. 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 Om Asatoma satgamaya, gamaya. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Asatoma satgamaya. Tamasoma gamaya. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Asatoma satgamaya. Tamasoma gamaya. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Last time. Om Asatoma satgamaya. Tamasoma gamaya. Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Take us from the untruth to the truth, from the darkness to the light, and from poison to nectar. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I want to speak for a moment just to this word. It's on the third line, and it's tricky. I found the third line the hardest to kind of split up. But you see, Mrityorma amritam gamaya. The amritam comes from the word amrita, and in the neo-tantrics call it amrita. So it's amrita. Anyway, this is actually nectar, and yes, the neo-tantrics and the way they use it, we could talk about that in my Ask My Anything next week if you like, but it's a very, very, very beautiful word. The goddess Saraswati, we talked about this before, literally is depicted with like waterfalls of amrit, of this nectar of bliss dripping down. It's really beautiful, dripping down from every orifice of her body, like this huge fine waterfall, like cascading her amrit. Oh, I know it is. So it's a very, very potent word. And I just thought I'd highlight it because it comes up so much in Neo-Tantra. So anyway, for me, I wanted to explain the iyotir and then the amrit. But here we're using it obviously much more in the classical sense. And if you want to, did you see that I just said we'll do, on the 7th, we're going to do the next Ask Me Anything. I don't know if you saw that come out today. But anyway. Okay, any questions about that mantra before we move on? Just unmute yourself because I don't
Yeah, what is it from?
Oh, I will have to look that up. I should know that.
Well, I mean, what tradition or?
Well, I'm chanting Vedic style, but I know it comes from a text, and I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. I think it's from the Upanishads. Let me just see. Hang on 1 second. If it's on.
Is it from India?
No,
India, Vedic?
Oh, yes.
That's all I want to know.
Indian, from the Vedas in India, and I think. No, I will look up exactly where it's from. It is from the Vedas, but I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. So
that's okay.
Good question. I should know that. And I'll make sure I look it up, and hopefully it'll stay in there. I feel like it's from the Upanishads, but I don't want to misspeak.
I was asked to share a chant or a song this morning, and I did a sitaram thing, and they wanted to know, and it was for a Baha'i gather,
Oh, lovely.
and it's about the seven valleys is the book, reading of the valleys of search and love, and yeah. And I actually think this one really applies.
I
The meaning.
love this mantra. Remember, it has a lot of power behind it. So this path of truth is quite a few years ago in my teaching career, I decided that I was going to really commit in my personal life, but in my professional life, to this path of truth. And it is a very intense practice, just that alone, because the truth is quite confronting, and the truth can also be it can be sharp like a sword, and people often don't want to hear the truth. Like, I've had to share things with students. I don't believe in brutal honesty. I believe in truth tempered with kindness. So I try and be kind in the way I share it, as best as I'm able. Sometimes I'm more successful than others. I'm human too. But I had no idea what it was going to cost me, actually. It's cost me quite dearly. It's cost me friends. It's cost me colleagues. It's cost a lot of things. It doesn't mean I'm going to move away from that commitment, because I still believe it's the right kind of alignment. Yeah. So just know, if you're going to sit and practice with this mantra a lot, it can call a lot of intensity. So just as a forewarning, I'll put that out there. Anyway, but play with it. Maybe you can hold it lighter than I do. All right. So we're going to move on now to the closing prayers, because I know the time always runs away from us so fast. But we will chant the Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Do you remember what that means, or do you want me to repeat again? It's okay. So it basically means, may all beings everywhere be happy and free. And really, it's kind of like what KD says, Krishna Das says at the end of all his kirtans. He's like, may all being, what does he say? He says something about, he says, like, if I know anything about a path, it's only because of the people who've come before me. And, he has this whole thing, but then he actually does. He offers it up for the benefit of all. He just doesn't do it with this mantra. He does it in English. So it's a very common practice. The Buddhists do it in their own way too, with metta practice, right? Where they first sending loving kindness to themselves, and then they think of a person, and then they send it out to the whole world. So when we're doing our spiritual practice, and chanting for me is part of that, there's also this aspect, just like we're chanting for India tonight. It's not just that we're doing it for our own benefit, but so that the ripples go out, and that the merits of our practice go out and bless the world. Okay, so we'll sing Loka. I'm doing word by word now. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Good. And that Bhavantu comes from the word bhava. And it's that, yes. So there are people way more learned than me that could explain the whole word of bhav. But bhav is like the feeling that you get when you are chanting these mantras. It's even deeper than that, but it's like the mood. Yeah, it's a very deep word, but it's this mahapranic. So the spelling is Bhava, bhava. I'm saying bhava too. but mahapranic. Maha means great, and prana means even more life force. When you go, instead of bhava, which is just with a B, if you aspirate the H, bhavantu, bhavantu. More Shakti if we do it correctly. Okay, so we're gonna go because I can see I'm losing light. All right, so we will go into still chanting Vedic style. Lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. For India, Lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. 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 Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Mrityorma Namaha Hari Om. So I'm remembering that KD says, he says something about like, may all people be happy and safe and have enough to eat. That's what he says. That's the part that always reminds me of this. So this doesn't talk about having enough to eat, but so I'm gonna end the recording so we can just chat for a second. Oh, don't end that.